Welcome to the Global Pulse, a short video series where our experts break down a trending topic in international business and why it matters to you.
Hello, I'm here to talk about a recent proposal by the BRICS countries. We call it BRICS as an acronym representing Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A recent proposal by them to establish a new currency to be used to conduct world trade and also to be used as a reserve currency. This currency would be backed by a basket of currencies that represent currencies from the various BRICS countries. Now, why would anyone want to set up a new reserve currency? Right now, the dollar is the big reserve currency. Also, the dollar is the big currency that's used in world trade. And the dollar has worked reasonably well as a reserve currency and as a currency to finance transactions. But there are a couple of BRICS countries that are probably concerned about using the dollar in the future and also are having difficulties using the dollar today. Those two countries are Russia and China. So Russia has recently been subjected to pretty harsh sanctions, which make it difficult for them to conduct transactions in world markets. And also, Russian reserves in dollars were expropriated temporarily or perhaps permanently by the United States with the help of Western European allies after Russia invaded Ukraine. So currently, Russia has difficulty accessing the dollar as both a reserve currency and as a currency to conduct trade. As a result, Russia has conducted more and more of its trade with China. If you look at this from the perspective of China, China might figure they're going to be next. Maybe they're going to be subject to expropriation, or maybe they're going to be subject to even harsher sanctions than what they're already subjected to. So you can understand why Russia and China would want to get together and set up their own kind of currency that could be used as a reserve currency and be used to conduct trade. Um, in my opinion, it's going to be very difficult for Russia and China to coordinate a reserve currency that's backed by several different developing countries. And the reason is that if you have a group or basket, every member of that basket, whether it's Russia or China or some other country, has an incentive to cheat. They'll print a lot of money. They'll be fiscally irresponsible, and they'll let the other countries exercise the discipline that it takes to make a currency successful. If you look at what they're competing against the dollar. And although the dollar is not perfect, it's highly liquid. There's a good system set up for payments and conducting world trade. And it's been a good reserve currency. If you think about the characteristics of a good reserve currency, it's a currency that holds its value when the world goes into turmoil and bad things start happening. And that's because central banks hold the reserve currencies as a rainy day fund, which they need to draw down by selling when things are going bad. So if the currency like the dollar holds up its value when things are bad, it makes it a really good reserve currency. It's hard to imagine that a currency basket with the ruble and the Chinese currency in it would be that good a reserve currency because the types of bad things that might happen around the world might be correlated with those currencies plummeting in value, and therefore they would not preserve their value under these circumstances. Um, Another issue to consider is that if Russia and China got together and set up a reserve currency, the currency would need some degree of convertibility. But both Russia and China right now have pretty harsh regime of restrictions on the convertibility of their currency. They have exchange controls that make it difficult for their own citizens to pull money out of the country. And it's difficult for other investors to invest in the country because they fear their property rights are not going to be respected. So I think the idea of a BRICS currency is probably one that's not going to fly very far.